become different. Show up different. I felt like showing up very differently today, which coincidentally is in tune with the topic for today. The reason why we have so many divorces and so many relationship issues is because people do not think differently. People do not do things outside of the box. And as you see, a lot of the things that I share here with you in these videos are very different from what you see in the mainstream. People are usually telling you about tactics or forget it or throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping that it sticks, whereas there is a science to relationships. One of the things that we often do when we're trying to get someone to be more like what we want, or when we're thinking that we can get people to be more like what we want, is that we're coming from a place where I really want you to be this way because I really want this relationship to be this way. Whereas life does not give us what we want. Life gives us what we demand. And if you see all the things that I say, first of all, know yourself, and then to thine own self be true. Because when you know yourself, it's like going for a job interview. Actually, we should treat our relationships like going to work for a company. You have to have the skill set, and then you have to be qualified for that particular job. So when you approach it that way, as soon as you get there, if they say they're looking for a business analyst, and you know that you're an English major, and that's all that you know, then you know that you're looking for the wrong position. You're trying to get into the wrong position. And the company will also know as soon as they see you. So that's one of the very first things. So we have to qualify both parties. Are these two things suitable? And so if you are, when you get there, if they say that they are looking for a business analyst, and you know that this is how much business analysts are paid. If business analysts are paid 200,000 a year, they're not going to offer you 80,000. They're not going to offer you 450,000. You actually know what your worth is. When they say that you should know your worth in your relationship, it's serious. It's like, know who you are, so that when you get there, you demand exactly what you're supposed to get. But when I say demand, remember that you're dealing with a human being. You see, when you're dealing, human beings are complex. So human relationships are complex. In fact, our relationships are the most important aspects of our life because they influence everything else. They influence our income, they influence our jobs, they influence our relationships with other people. They influence our health. If you don't have a relationship and you have money, money is not going to get you a relationship. If you have a relationship and you don't have money, you can still go on. Your relationship can still survive. The way that you handle yourself, the way that you handle getting an income and working with the income that you have and actually approaching your job, everything is affected when your relationship is sick. And so this is the most important aspect of our lives. There is nothing more, and there is nothing that anyone can do right if relationships in their lives or in their life is skewed. And so we must get this right. We must stop adopting the approach of throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping that something sticks. Otherwise, we're going to end up like everybody else. If you look all around you, a lot of relationships are breaking. And even the ones that are surviving, a lot of people are just staying in there because they feel like, I don't have a better alternative, or I don't know what I'm going to meet out there if I leave this one. But in there, they're not happy. So why don't we do this? Why don't we instead create what is sustainable and what actually works for us by knowing the right approach? And it starts by going in there with the right mindset. And you have to stop listening to all the things that you see out there, because these are tactics and people, you can't even keep up. It's like a game. It's like everybody's trying to game someone. You know that. And then you have to keep on remembering. You don't need to remember anything if you just have the right mindset, which is in the first place that you are made in the image of God, and the next person also is made in the image of God, and both of you matter. Both parties matter. Remember that I said that we have to approach this now in a different way by thinking about ourselves and them at the same time. So you want to solve the next person's problem while solving your problem. Nobody's going to just love you because simply for existing. But if you're helping to solve their problem, then you are making their life easier. And how can we do that? If we don't even know, look, if you don't know how to care for someone else, you're not going to know how to care for yourself. So I say, for instance, in a relationship, imagine that you were not you. Imagine that you were an item that was placed in your hands to take care of, an item that was made in the image of God. Or imagine that you are your son or your daughter. that's when you will know the things that your son or daughter should be going through or not going through in their relationship. So the moment that you take the attention away from yourself, the moment that, so a lot of the times when we suffer, it's because we actually are not careful enough about other people, because we are so damn selfish, you know. So in approaching our relationship issues, we have to come from a place of not being selfish. Once we can do that, we can better see the other person's perspective. And the good thing is that they know, when they get to know us, they will know that the way that we look at this thing is trying to also see their own perspective. So that when we're coming, we're trying to solve things in a way that favors them. And this would allow us to not be selfish in our approach. And they can see by the things that we say and the things that we do, that we're considering them in everything that we're saying and doing. This also leads to those relationships where I'll tell you that a lot of our suffering also comes from us arrogating to ourselves the position of God in another person's life. I am telling you this, because we can see that this person is uncomfortable with what we're trying to do or what we're trying to get them to do, but we keep on insisting on it, forgetting that people are coming from their experiences. They were a human being existing in life and living life before they met us, and so they have somewhere that they're going. Can you help them achieve what they're trying to achieve? Let me give an instance. Last week, I spoke with a lady, and we were talking about her relationship that had failed. It was a man. I've actually used this couple in another illustration on another video. It was a man who was taking from her financially. So I said, do you realize that this man, if you had looked at what he was doing from a different point of view, you would have approached the relationship from a different angle? Instead of just looking at it like he's being selfish, he's being demanding of me, and he's using my money, which he was doing, by the way. Yes, he was being selfish and he was being wicked. But the thing is, if you recognize where he's coming from, this is a man who feels little, who feels that he hasn't achieved in life, who feels that he needs to show his family, he needs to show all the people who've known him in his life that he's done something. So he's asking for money over and over and over because he's trying to create a business that works. So if you understand that this is where this man is going, right, you will clearly say to him, I see what you're trying to do. You want to achieve this and I want to help you achieve it. And then you're coming from there. So if you want to keep on giving him money, financial assistance to help him, you can do that. But now you're not doing it because you want him to be happy with you. You're not doing it because you want him to see that I am there for you, and so therefore I deserve your love. You're coming from a different angle. And if you don't want to give him money for that, if you think that he's being wasteful with the money, because a lot of times when people get into that situation where they feel like, I've seen someone who loves me and they can give me and help me to achieve what I want, people actually become entitled and they have this entitlement attitude. And so if you see that this is the kind of person that this is, and yet you see that you care about him, that's why I always say that, see, we don't have to remove ourselves from these people, even if we're not getting what we want from them. You can see, okay, I love this guy, I care about him, and I want to help him get this thing. So you're going to do only as much as you can and as much as you need to. You don't stress yourself because you're now trying to get him to see you as someone to be in a relationship with and to treat you well. The moment that you're able to take care of the next person, you automatically start taking care of yourself. So when we can get ourselves out of a selfish way of viewing things, by the way, I'm not trying to call you all selfish. I'm not trying to name call, but that is in effect what we're doing. A lot of the times when we're doing things for people that we love, we think that we're doing these things because I want to do something for this person that I love, but subconsciously and unconsciously, we're trying to actually get them to love us back, to reciprocate. And that is when we get lost. Because what we're trying to do, remember that God gives us free will. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to thwart and bend the will of that person to a result that we want. So we need to look at things from outside the box. Think outside the box. Think differently. What I want us to adopt is more of a selfless approach. And you may think it's hard, but it's not. It's not. I promise when you start doing it, you will feel at peace. You'll now be at peace. Right? And so when you know that I am showing up completely for this person because I care about them, automatically, magically, when you're coming to ask for something from them, you're not coming from, I hope that she will do this. I hope that he will do this. It's almost like when you say it, it's a matter of fact. This is how things should be, because you are automatically now operating from a place of everybody's needs is important. Everybody's needs are important. So now when you know that you're thinking of their own needs as important, you automatically realize that your own needs are important. You are not now pleading with them. You are not now asking for them to do these things for you. As a matter of fact, you're stating a fact of how things should be. It's just a little tweak in mindset. Do something different from what you're seeing everywhere. And guess what? When you come like that, you send a message to the person that you know your worth and you know that you have value. Do you know that when you're asking someone to do something for you because it will please you, the attitude that you have is quite different from when you're approaching it from a place of knowing your value and knowing your worth? Like that business analyst who goes to that job and they offer 80,000 for a job that he knows they pay 200,000 for. He's not even going to consider it. There will be no negotiations. And that's why you find yourself negotiating in your relationships, because you're not showing up in your worth. But when you know your worth, guess what? They also have more respect for you. Imagine someone seeing you as someone who is coming and pleading and you're begging, begging them to do this for you, to show up for you in a certain way. It's quite different from when you approach it as someone who knows their worth. And if you're not going to show up for me in this way, I am not having this. I'd rather not have the relationship at all. But the other way, you come like you're being beggarly. It's like, I want this relationship. I need this relationship. And so you find yourself contorting yourself and bending over backwards and doing things that you shouldn't be doing. And they can tell it's an energy. It just shows up. You show up in the relationship like that. In fact, you become a burden. And you even become like, they become deaf to the things that you're saying because they're no longer paying attention. But when you're coming from the other angle, it's like you're demanding, like someone who knows their worth. It's like, I know that if I'm not getting this, then I don't want it at all. It's all or nothing. Actually, life is all or nothing. The people who get things done, the people who get what they want, are people who come demanding all or nothing. But it only requires us to also be ready to give all or nothing. And that's when we know people who mean business. And there we separate the chaff from the wheat. The two people have to mean business. People are just approaching these things haphazardly. If it works, oh, let me see what they're going to present. Let me see what they're going to be like. No, you need to know yourself. And the person who is coming needs to know themselves. And when two people who know themselves come together, that's value meeting value right there. And that's when you get magic. Come different. Show up different. That's the word for today. Take those things up. Show up different. Show up there to care for someone else. Show up there selfless. Show up there as someone who knows their worth. Show up demanding. You're not pleading. And guess what? People love people who come knowing their value. That's what I'm going to end with now. People love people who come knowing their value versus the person who comes begging and pleading. Please be like this for me. No. Like, I know who I am. I know who I am. I know what I'm bringing for you, for us here. Remember again, the lowest hanging fruit will get plucked by the lowest effort people just walking the path. They just stretch their hands and just grab you like that. Don't be something that can be found around every corner. Be special. Show up special. Be phenomenal. So you can have a phenomenal relationship with a phenomenal partner. It works. It happens. It's happening for a lot of people. Be one of them. That's my wish for you.